Israel is witnessing a sea of protests against the government-proposed judicial overhaul, with demonstrations entering their 27th week. Protests at the WION Airport and northern Haifa port come on a day when Israeli forces are conducting its biggest raid against militants in the Jenin refugee camp in West Bank. In a show of strength, thousands of Israelis descended on Israel's Ben Gurion Airport, blocking access, chanting slogans and waving the national flag. Police were seen trying to remove protesters who were blocking the terminal. Protesters were seen calling for a shutdown of Israel's Ben Gurion Airport in protest against the government's renewal of its legislative push. Earlier, demonstrators briefly shut off access to a major Israeli seaport. Scores of demonstrators, some holding Israeli flags and others beating drums, blocked the gate of the northern Haifa port for 1.5 hours. A port spokesperson said they had held up the entry of around 100 trucks and delayed the loading of cargo. Protesters claim the judicial overhaul would weaken the judiciary and limit judicial oversight on laws and government decisions. It would also pose a direct threat to civil rights and the rights of minorities and marginalized groups. Protesters say they will not accept the cancellation of the reasonable or non-reasonable clause that would allow corrupt appointments and the dismissal of the Attorney General. The protests come in the backdrop of a massive military operation in the Jenin refugee camp in the West Bank. Israel forces here are using drones to strike targets in a militant stronghold. Hundreds of troops have been deployed in the area. And according to reports, at least 7 Palestinians have been killed and dozens wounded. Our correspondent Jody Cohen is joining us live from ground zero of the protests in Israel. Hi, Jody. We are reporting that protests against the government's plans to reform the judicial system have begun at Israel's main airport. What more do we know about these demonstrations?
Hi, Eric. So the protesters are against the government's judicial reforms. They're blockading Israel's main airport this evening, and that follows the blockade at Israel's main seaport also on Monday. Now, as you can imagine, it's the summer. The airport is really extremely busy. Protesters are hoping to cause maximum disruption at this time. They've already been sitting in at arrivals for the past hour, even though the demonstration officially only began 15 minutes ago. It was supposed to focus on the departures lounge. They've been in the arrivals lounge singing the national anthem, calling shame at the police when they tried to move them on. The roads in the vicinity of the airport are getting increasingly blocked. People have been advised that if they can't park, which just bear in mind on a normal summer day at the airport when it's very busy, there's not always parking at the airport. Right. So they're saying to people, if you can't find parking, drive around 7 times and then go home. So the roads are getting increasingly busy in the vicinity. The arrivals lounge has been occupied by hundreds of protesters, and the departures will be the main focus. The protest, as I said, was starting 15 minutes ago. There's no end time that's been designated. So the committee chair, the Justice Committee chair, Simcha Rothman, he said that he hopes the Justice Committee will approve the revised bill this week. Remember, Prime Minister Netanyahu had said that effectively the original judicial overhaul bill was dead. And Yair Lapid, the head of the opposition, said he is supporting the protesters, protesting now and doing this blockade today, despite the ongoing operation that's happening in Jenin.
Jody, very quickly, what's the latest on the Jenin operation?
So Israel has said that they have found a laboratory containing hundreds of explosives. Palestinian Authority President Abbas has called for an urgent meeting of the Palestinian leadership and has threatened to stop security coordination between Israel and the Palestinian Authority. Islamic Jihad members said that they opened fire on Israeli troops, and the Palestinian Health Ministry have said that so far 8 Palestinians have now been killed, and Hamas is now calling on young Palestinians to join in the fight. And UN envoy Tor Wennesland is calling on Israel and Palestinian leaders to protect civilian lives.
Correspondent Jody Cohen, thank you.
Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.